Have you tried these yet? Yeah, no?
Not yet.
I mean, I think this one's a little bit sweeter. This one is not so... Which one are we going to try first? Afro Palm Spirit. Cheers.
Slip.
Live at day 45. That's what I have to say. Pour this on another one. No, you know what? Hit me too a little bit. Okay. Everyone back home is like, there's some alcoholics. Yeah.
I just have a sitting.
No, it's good. It's good, you know?
Yeah.
Productive. So, Kojo, I'm so happy to have you here, live at day 45. You used to do a lot more like hyper realism.
Yeah.
Yeah. What got you to, go towards your signature style that you have now? Or what did that process look like?
So what brought me here in this visual space now is when I realized I knew how to paint, I was starting to get inclined more to like storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And the type of stories that came up in my mind, I couldn't convey it well with like hyper-realism because it wasn't physical and realistic.
Oh, even though it seems so like realistic.
Yeah, so the idea was to like break down the physical image of what like human interactions and what human spaces mean into those ideas that I think about in terms of stories. And that's how the characters came about. Like I had to move away from hyperrealism because I couldn't tell those stories.
You couldn't tell your stories through hyperrealism, so you had to like in a way create like your own world that you can actually influence.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you have like some archetypes that show up repeatedly throughout your works. You have like the type of bird you have. I'm not sure what type of bird that's supposed to be.
They're supposed to just be flying creatures.
Just flying creatures.
Yeah.
And then you have like, I know you have a lot of like, from like something that seems like a moon or a sun, like light coming in, a lot of doorways, pathways.
It's more to be looked like as a world where humans have not researched yet. So let's say now we're in the world where somebody has researched on birds, and we can see the taxonomy and like the taxonomy. Is it taxonomy or taxonomy? You can see like the classes of birds and all of that because someone researched it. So in this world, in this space that I'm creating, it's just imagining yourself in a world where it's like there's a lot of different things, but you don't really have all the tools yet to process it. Because to me, it's a bit continuous and it takes like time, just like, how do you call it? Just like the world works, like time takes place and things evolve. So yeah, I don't have names for all classes of...
But you have like, I called them, like you have the men or the people. I called them Aborigines at first because I felt like there was something like original,
it's
like...
the eyewitness.
Yeah, exactly, the eyewitness. How did you get to them? And what function are they actually, like, do they play in your work?
For the eyewitness, I think the name the eyewitness came up because, like I said, I was telling stories through my art. That's what I found myself doing, and in that process, it felt like being in a space where you can see everything, and then coming somewhere else to tell what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So then you become an eyewitness.
Yeah.
And now the characters that I'm talking about are in a certain space that we don't see yet, but they come alive through me when I paint them, right?
Yeah.
And they become an eyewitness from that space.
Okay. So is the eyewitness somehow simultaneously you?
It's basically like saying somebody does see something from somewhere and convey the message. Yeah.
Do you take the viewer into account when you're drawing or painting, like, is it important that the intent of your work is perceived?
When I'm painting, I consider universal ideas. So like ideas that relate to each and every person, but in a different way. I'm sure we are all breathing, but we're all breathing in different ways. Somebody might be breathing more oxygen and somebody might be having like shortness of breath, but that's their way of breathing and they don't know it because we haven't measured that like thing. But it's something we all do and we all think, oh, we are all breathing. You know, but there's the quantity to it or there's like the detail to it. So yeah, it's something that is like I put universal ideas that everybody relates to in a sense, but then when you observe it, you'd have to like decipher it with how you process it, with how you are breathing. Like we're all breathing, but when you sit down to breathe, it's between you and the like your lungs type shit. So when you're looking at the art, it's between you and the art to like decipher it. Yeah. Are we allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you can cuss.
Yeah, type shit.
Yeah, you can cuss. You know, it's not PG-13. Okay, so it's between, but there's something, I get the impression, there's something though that you do want to activate in the viewer or the consumer of your work. Like, is there something like, is there intent behind what you do?
I believe art is a structural tool for all types of change and all types of reform and all types of influence. And no matter how or who you are, if you interact visually, it's a piece of art or something that is being aesthetically put together very well. You'd enjoy it, or you'd actually observe it, or you think, what is this, or what is this about? So most definitely, the moment you start putting together like ideas, it is to create something aesthetically like uniform that's beautiful to people.
Yeah.
But aside having that I feel like that's what draws people to it. Having that, I personally like to put certain codes that like work with like the subconscious.
Yeah.
So things that have effects on you, but not in your conscious world. Like you don't consciously see it.
The unconscious process happening.
Yeah. It's like you're seeing something for 3 or 4 times, and then you see someone like, I think I've seen this before. But maybe you saw a signboard, you saw someone wearing a t-shirt, you saw that, you saw that. And then it's kind of like at the back of your mind.
And that actually reminds me of something interesting about being in Accra in general, is that you can find your work, your archetypes, you know, your style, you find it in different places in Accra. Accra is definitely a city in the world right now that's definitely, when it comes to development, is on its way. Also internationally, you know, you see a lot more people coming around here. And also when I hear people who've like left and come back to like, oh, it's like, it's changed and like all these places we used to go aren't there anymore. Yeah. So you're also part of this process of like, I don't even want to say modernization, but like just development of like of the city.
Yeah.
Like you're somehow passively, I'm gonna say passively because I don't think it's your intent to make sure you're everywhere in the city.
Yeah.
It's something that just kind of happens.
It kind of happens. It's just if I have an idea of what I want to say, and if I feel like I don't really need to put this on the canvas, but it has to be somewhere where people have to like publicly see it.
Yeah.
I'll just think of ways to publicly exhibit, and that's like how that happens. So it's about, like I was saying, it's a story, and it goes from one point to the other without you planning it, because then the story is telling itself, like it's a moving thing.
Yeah. The session is called Back to the Roots. Right? And often going back to the roots is mostly or often in the context of a person who has left the place of their origin. You know,
Yeah.
as African American, that's something, you know, that's connected to like the Marcus Garvey movement and stuff like that. Like going back, you know, because, you know, us systematically, our like cultural identities was kind of stripped from us and stuff. So it's about like, you know, in a way healing as well. But what does like back to the roots? What can it mean for someone who is essentially in the place of origin?
Although this is our origin, being
Yeah.
African and being born from here, and
Exactly.
is our origin. There was like a certain cultural separation from this origin before our generation, or in our generation. There had been that, like, I was born in the world where I know that there was a cultural separation because white people came to enslave us and destroyed shit, created segregation, created a whole lot of dissociation with ourselves, just because they wanted to do what they wanted to do for themselves, and they thought that was the best way to utilize other people. And yeah, that's all we've known since we're born. Their ideas and their stories and their like documentation of other things that happened before that segregation. But if you're born in a space where there had already been a segregation, there's a disconnect between you and where you're from. So like within all our periods growing up and that, although we are in the origin, there's still like a separation from the origin. Because one, we don't practice certain things that our forefathers used to practice. That was like what they used to do in their origin.
Yeah.
We don't do certain ideas. We don't even show up in certain ways that our forefathers used to show up in this origin of Africa. And all these things are infiltrated with like European like styles of thinking and ways of perceiving the world. And I feel like whether you're diaspora or whether you are here, if you're in a generation where that was the information you got about your people, there's a dissociation from your origin.
Yeah.
So no matter what, you still have to. It's like you have to struggle to get back to the roots, because
Back before colonialism.
not necessarily before colonialism, because as a people we're meant to evolve. So whatever we're doing back then, sometimes when you tell people to go back to the roots, they push everything down to, we have to. Are we going to do the exact same way? Are we going to cut? Are we going? No, it's not about that. If we were doing that then, I'm sure as we're growing our culture, as time was evolving, that culture would have evolved to something that will match our level of IQ based on what the generation feels we need to improve. So some of the things that we're doing, maybe traditionally, that might look very vicious, wouldn't have been the way we're doing it now.
Yeah.
But it will still be the same way in our culture that's evolved. So, there's just a lot of dissociation, and you always have to find a way to like connect certain ideas that's happening to you presently to your past, and find a way to modify it based on. It's like you have to personally evolve your culture.
Yeah. But when you say the culture somehow also been like maybe tainted or influenced by colonialism, that's why I said before colonialism, like in the context of like Ghana, I think Ghana's only been the actual state of Ghana since like 70 years, if I'm correct, around 70 years. We just had independence.
Ghana's there for like it's independent 60 years, right? 63.
70? 70? Yeah, so it's just like 60, 70 years, right? So there's a whole history actually before that. And even before that, like, I don't know. So for me, like, I had the privilege of going to school in public school in Germany and going to school in public school in America. And I know I've never got to learn about the empires that were in Africa, on the African continent. Like, I learned about, ancient Rome, ancient Greece, Egypt. You even learned about the Persians and stuff, the Mongolians. But I can't say I've ever in school learned, about the Ashanti Empire or about the Mali Empire. You know what I mean? Like these are things that's taught to us. But my question is, if you grow up here, is that something that's taught? Like, do you learn about these things as well? Because I feel like part of going back to your roots would be also learning about the history, not necessarily taking over what they were doing, but learning about what was actually happening. I feel like it helps the dissociation that you were speaking of.
First of all, no. We don't teach any kind of thing like that at the point where it really is going to be your subconscious. Like as a human being, your subconscious basically rules your life. The conscious decisions are things that you do to contribute to your subconscious. But your subconscious rules your life. Because right now you're breathing. You're not thinking, let me take a deep in and out. You're just looking at me and you're breathing in. Because your subconscious is doing that for you. So that's your life, basically. So knowing this, and also knowing that the subconscious develops from age 7 properly to your teens. Let's say from age 7, whatever you learned till age 7 will stay. Yeah. Right? So from crèche to age 7, whatever you learn to stay. And after that 7, it's a build up on that subconscious. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
When you're born, when you're born, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those times is when you are building that subconscious. That's about to rule your life. And after that 7, right? Maybe another 7 more years is used to strengthen those subconscious ideas.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah. Okay.
So now you go look at our educational curriculum, and from crèche, right? First of all, they are not teaching you your language. They are not teaching you how to understand things in your language. So now you're breaking a lot of things that have been encoded in your DNA. Right? You're breaking a lot of those things and building a new subconscious in your mind that, one is this, English and that, you have to go to church and that. By the time you're 7, all these ideas is concentrated in your mind. Right? By the time you grow from 7, you are developing those ideas. If you don't have any friends that are out of your spectrum that will teach you anything else, you develop those same ideas. For the past years, we've been teaching the wrong curriculum. They don't teach us shit about even anything. Nothing about your country. What they teach you in schools is how you got slaved, benefits, the advantages and the disadvantages of how you got slaved.
The advantages.
Yeah.
There were advantages? I mean, maybe to an individual.
If you look in the curriculum and you look in the books, they'll say some things like, they brought about European fashion and things, stupid things.
Really?
That will get you to pass your exams to go to the university.
Really?
My G, listen. It's crazy in the educational system to teach about roots and that. They are just psyching everybody. So it's you're in a generation where we have been able to, like I said, that subconscious that has been built in. We are still fighting it all. We going against the grain or going against the grade and trying to learn. We are still fighting it. Yeah. Because then we are no, this is not what we have to. This is not what we have to.
So, do you use your art maybe as a means of somehow deconstructing these thoughts?
Back in our African arts, there was nothing like category per se, or we didn't even term it so much of art.
Like aesthetics, it was a lot practical as well.
It was a tool.
Yeah.
It was a tool, just like you have an axe, just like you have a gun. If you see a sculpture there, it's a tool. Yeah. Why do they have the tool there? It's just a medium for them to transfer or to communicate through other mediums. Yeah. That's why it's there. So our idea of art wasn't even about aesthetically having a painting and that and that. Every single thing represented a medium. This one takes bad spirits away. This one does this. This one does this. Because they're channeling certain ideas through that imagery they create. So it's not for the imagery purpose. Yeah. So having this concept in mind, I just create based on non-categorizing, this is for this, or this represent that, or this represent that. When I'm creating, I create it as a medium to like channel certain ideas.
Yeah.
So the same painting I might create for Thanksgiving that you look at, somebody might look at it and think, oh, this is about like a war or something, because it's just a medium. Whatever, however that thing like reflects in the person's mind is what they'll think it is.
Yeah.
And that's how like the art was. So people create like sculptures and they'll say, oh, this is our shrine, and it's their shrine. You can't say shit about it. So even me that's painting, when I'm done painting and someone gets my painting and says this means this to them,
Yeah. It's still acceptable.
it's what it means to them.
Yeah.
That's what like the tool of art and the sculptures that we used to do. So every place had a certain symbol. That's why we have all these jinyame, the cross symbols and things. They weren't just aesthetics.
It's communication.
It brought a certain energy, like it had a certain thing to it, because that's what the people's beliefs channeled through that thing. So yeah, just certain simple, like certain little details like that, adding it to the art and conveying it in a way where people can have the chance to be able to like understand that, oh, it's not really about like the aesthetic part of it, but it's about what you're trying to channel.
So since we're talking about history, you just had recently in the Kempinski Hotel here in Accra, you had a exhibition titled "The History of Ghana."
Yeah.
And while looking, and it's like these huge, it's like huge murals, man. Like you just made like large, like the whole wall through. It's crazy. And it's definitely a storytelling. It's like, it seems linear, but I'm not sure it is. Because it says the history of Ghana, but then I question myself if it actually is the history in Ghana in terms of the past, or if it's like a history that, still is to come. I think I read something also that you wrote once about, you quoted someone as about how the way we perceive time is like, I think in a river and you're looking downstream.
That was Kobe Gray.
Yeah.
He put together the piece, although we contributed to it, but like he put together the idea. Those are his words, and no, those weren't his actual words, but he put together the idea about the river and that.
Just so it's like you're looking downstream of the river. What you see past is the past. What's around you is the present, and you don't see the future.
Yeah, but
it's still happening, because it's moving.
How I understand the history, the sense of history is, it's a continuous thing. It's about what's happening now. It's like the past and the future. The past and the future, right? Doesn't really exist until there's now.
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting here right now and I'm not doing nothing, the future of me is going to be me sitting here right now, and the past of me is going to be me sitting here right now and not doing anything. If I move from here to here, the idea of me moving from here to here, or you see me here, is a future in a sense, right? Because it hasn't happened yet, but when I start doing it, it becomes something that's happened.
Yeah.
And if I'm done doing it, it becomes something that has happened.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no history until there's now. So whatever you're doing in your now is your history.
Yeah.
Because then the ideas you're thinking about now, how you're behaving now, is contributing to your future, and whatever you've done in that future becomes that past.
Yeah.
So to me, sharing the history of Ghana was more about like drawing the thin line between things that we think happened, things that we think are about to happen, and just the in-between where there's these things that are happening.
Yeah.
If you thought we were colonized and we became slaves, just right now there are people making decisions that make people become colonized.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Yeah, I do.
Like they're making those decisions. Oh, let's do an agreement with this. Oh, let's do this. Let's sign those. Because they want to be rich in that instant. We are here dreading and slavery. Those people in that time also thought like those people in this time who maybe are selfish and are thinking about the money they can get in this real short instance. So, let me sign this deal. Fuck all these people.
Yeah.
So whatever they did in that present contributed to that our past, our tragic past, and they are still doing it now.
Yeah.
So it means our future is still looking like our past because it's still happening now. So that was like my idea, and that was why I was trying to convey the interaction between you and the decisions you make right now.
Yeah.
Is what's going to become your history. That's your past, and the interactions you make right now is what's going to become your future. Because if you make a choice that creates change, it's going to change a lot of things, and that becomes the future of what we all understand it to be. So that was it. That was the whole idea behind it.
So, well, we're looking forward to seeing more of you. Of course, it's been, like I said before, it's been great to sit down with you and pick your mind. Yeah, thanks for being back to the roots, man. It's been cool. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
It's been great.
Great, super.